I can see why they say this is more realistic than Tony Hawk, man. Not. Welcome back to another episode of Strictly Sega. In this episode we're going to bring you Skate 3, published by EA Black Box, who we all know due to their persistent endless yearly updates of Need for Speed. Speaking of Need for Speed, here's one we produced earlier.
So I picked up the first Skate game after asking the clerk what he thought of it, and he replied with a question. He said, "Do I like Tony Hawk games?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I really liked the first and the second one because it was something I'd never seen before, and it showed off something you could do in a 3D game that couldn't be replicated in 2D. Well," the store clerk said, "if you like Tony Hawk, Skate is the same but more realistic." And so I bought it, and I was quite impressed with the controls, with the left thumbstick control on the player and the right thumbstick control on the board. But in time I kind of got sick of it and missed the whole over-the-top jumps and the crazy combos that were in Tony Hawk Underground. So I didn't quite finish this game or explore it to all its limits. So later I saw Skate 3 on sale for a pretty cheap price, so I took it home and hoped they had found their direction. And they definitely have. From the moment you begin training with Jason Lee, the game is much clearer in explaining the directive, and the controls no longer require a manner of that trial and error as much as the first did. All the dots seem to have been connected.
Having never played Skate 2 myself, I didn't get all the references, but supposedly it has tons of throwbacks to the second game. The storyline, if you could call it that, requires you to gain notoriety to promote your own line of skateboard brands, and in turn, famous skaters join you to help promote your company. It's not really much of a story, is it? But hey, it's a skate game. It's not like we need it.
But what niggles me is what the salesman said. It's like Tony Hawk, but more realistic. I mean, I can see what he was suggesting with the new control scheme, how you control your board and control your person separately. But it's hardly realistic. I mean, some of the things you do in this game are just mammoth and could never be done in real life.
But in time, after completing the game, I found the hard mode, and yes, I can see where that comment stands. The timing has to be so perfect to land even the most basic trick. You end up longing for the easier game modes again.
So it raises a very important question. Do you want your skating games to be that realistic? Okay, let's be honest, it's rewarding and all when you do nail a challenge on hard, but it gets so tiresome trying the same trick over and over and over and over and over and over.
But hey, there are plenty of challenges and they're all pretty varied. But a lot of them are similar to the first game, like doing stuff like the Hall of Meat challenge, for instance, where you have to bail from your skateboard and land in certain places. But that's where the online play comes in.
The online side to this game isn't particularly impressive. Certain game modes are okay, like Deathmatch and 1-Up, but it can get quite annoying when no one accepts your challenge proposal. I can see where they were going, but they just didn't quite hit the mark with this one.
I must say, the soundtrack's different. One moment we're rocking out to Queens of the Stone Age, and then, surprisingly, we're still rocking out when Neil Diamond kicks in with Cracklin' Rose. The commentary's nice as well, and it does add to the environment.
So overall, I mean, it's a really fun game to play, and once you start to get the hang of it, you can get through most of the challenges within a few days, sort of thing. But it's not until you get online and see how good everyone else is that you realise there's more to it than just playing through the campaign mode. And I really like that about modern games. They tend to have a lot more than just the standard campaign, but without shortening the campaign too much. But unfortunately, this game didn't quite hit the mark there, because I found myself playing a few online games, but then not really wanting to go back to the campaign mode.
Before we turned on the camera, Nick and I were talking about what we'd like to see added to this game. And really, it came down to having the ability to upgrade your board. You see, the realism is sensational for the first half of the game, but as things get on and jumps get bigger and it gets a little bit silly, you know, the ability to upgrade your board would really come in handy.
For being too beautiful.
As much as skateboarding games have entertained us on the PS1, Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2, Xbox, PS3 and the 360, not to mention the PSP and DS, I think like any other flogged franchise it might be time for a break so we can try something fresh, like Mirror's Edge for instance. But if you are to have a good gaming collection, you need variety, and this is probably the best skateboarding game on the PS3 in our opinion.